In 1994, Thorpe Park opened the Nemesis roller coaster. The story and theming of Nemesis is that of a giant, ancient alien creature that has to be contained with metal poles that make up the structure of the roller coaster. 30 years later, Nemesis Reborn opened to the public. Here is the story of that creature. Hello, my name is Rob and welcome to Rob's Randoms. This is a channel where I make random videos about things that interest me. Recently, I went to Alton Towers for the opening of the Nemesis Reborn roller coaster, and in this video, I'm going to talk about it. This video is going to focus on the story and lore of the Nemesis rides rather than be a ride review or talk about the technical details. So let's talk about the lore of Nemesis, and that begins with Nemesis. First, there was Nemesis, codenamed Secret Weapon 3. The idea of the Nemesis roller coaster is that the Nemesis creature had to be pinned down by large metal poles that prevented it from escaping and causing further havoc, and that the roller coaster was built using those poles. The destruction caused by the Nemesis creature meant that the area known as Thunder Valley would forevermore be known as Forbidden Valley. Originally, the ride had red water flowing around it to simulate the blood of the Nemesis creature as it was being pinned down by these metal poles. The red water around the Nemesis roller coaster stopped in 2012, supposedly due to high rainfall that year, although there were also concerns about the red dye leaking out and causing issues to the local environment. Alton Towers stated that the stopping of the red water was a temporary issue, although sadly it never did return to the ride. The Nemesis ride officially closed on the 6th of November 2022. During the renovations, Alton Towers set up an observation deck so that guests to the park could see what was being done, and it also fit well into the lore of the mining and excavation of the Nemesis site. My wife and I last went to Alton Towers in September 2023 to see the opening of Alton Towers' haunted house ride, The Curse at Alton Manor. While there, we went on the observation deck to see what was going on with Nemesis, and while we were there, I signed up to the email list to get notifications about the new Nemesis ride. Signing up to that email list meant that I eventually got this free poster for the Nemesis Reborn ride, which I think is really cool, even if it is a little bit wrinkled because I had to have it in my coat all day. So with the original Nemesis ride, there wasn't a whole lot of story there. It was about a giant, ancient alien creature that had been awakened and was causing damage, but that was about it. There wasn't a whole lot of extra story. So in 1995, a comic book was created by Dan Abnett that expanded the Nemesis lore. In the comic, a group of soldiers from the group Phalanx are wandering under the tunnels of the Nemesis site and end up fighting some Nemesites, who are a cult group who defend the Nemesis creature and have some supernatural abilities. The comic book explains that the Nemesis creature has been kept at bay for centuries using mystic stonework like Stonehenge in England or the Pyramids of Giza. However, the cultists destroyed one of these stoneworks at Alton, and that is what caused the Nemesis creature to return. Recent excavations at the Alton Towers site is what's caused the Nemesis creature to awaken, try to escape, and eventually devour the earth. The story then follows as an outsider joins the Phalanx to fight the Nemesites and eventually the Nemesis creature, where the Phalanx win, but they know that the Nemesis creature will return. What I found most interesting about the comic book is that this is where the Phalanx are first introduced, and in this comic book, they are absolutely the heroes of the story. They describe themselves as a company of warriors dedicated to protecting the planet. However, over the years, it seems that Alton Towers have taken the idea of the Phalanx and changed them from being the good guys to being a military group who are also there to confine Nemesis, but not for the good of humanity. The full Nemesis comic book is available online at the Alton Towers Almanac website, which is defunct but still online and is still really interesting, and I used it a lot while researching this video. If you're interested, there is a link in the description, and it's an 18-page comic book. It's fun. I suggest you give it a read. So that is Nemesis, an ancient evil creature that has to be contained for the good of humanity. So what comes next? Nemesis Sub Terra. This ride opened in 2012 and is technically a drop tower ride, although that's really not the point of it. The point is the experience and the story that the ride tells. So at this point in the story, the Phalanx have changed to a military organisation who are there to contain the Nemesis creature. On the Nemesis Sub Terra ride, you go and see what the Phalanx are up to. You see, the Phalanx group doesn't just house and detain the Nemesis creature, but they also study it. Through their research and excavations, they discover some tunnels, and in those tunnels they discover eggs. Nemesis eggs. On the Nemesis Sub Terra ride, you get to see one of those eggs up close that is totally safe and is not going to cause any problems. And then it hatches. At this point, the drop ride does the drop, and you fall into a room that is full of Nemesis eggs. It then rises back up, and you are told to leave the ride immediately because of the imminent danger. You then get into lifts to escape the tunnels, which is then attacked by the Nemesis creature. Thankfully, you manage to escape that, and then live actors tell you to leave quickly because you're still in danger. The ride actually closed down in 2015 due to low attendance and generally poor reviews. However, it reopened in 2023 to help push the narrative and the excitement around Nemesis Reborn. I personally loved the Nemesis Terra ride, but that is because I really enjoyed the story and the theming around Nemesis, probably more so than the roller coaster itself. Anyway, so the Phalanx have discovered Nemesis eggs and they are keeping them safe, right? Well, yes, but this is where the Phalanx changes again and their moral compass kind of goes askew, because aside from detaining the Nemesis creature and studying it, they are also trying to weaponize it. The Phalanx organization tried to create a secret weapon by genetically mutating the Nemesis creature so that they could then use its offspring as weapons. It did not go well, and this brings us to Nemesis Reborn. Turns out the Phalanx had everyone fooled. Their plan? Experimenting with the Nemesis creature to create a monstrous superweapon with the power to overcome any situation. These mutations made Nemesis stronger, enhancing the blood flow through terrifying tentacles, developing impenetrable armor, attack spikes, acidic saliva, and enhanced vision capabilities. Individuals on the inside like me warned them it was a bad idea, that human technology couldn't control this otherworldly beast. We were ignored. So everything has gone wrong and the Nemesis creature is back. The genetic mutation experiments have just caused Nemesis to become stronger and angrier. Phalanx have failed to contain the Nemesis creature and now it is back to wreak havoc. The theming around Nemesis Reborn basically shows the military having failed. There is lots of Phalanx military paraphernalia around the place that has either been destroyed or abandoned. Outside the Nemesis Reborn roller coaster there is a giant helicopter. In the queue there is another crashed helicopter that spews white smoke and a giant gun that fires at the roller coaster as you go past, but thankfully misses. And I just want to say that although I think the gun at the Nemesis Reborn roller coaster is pretty cool, if we compare it to a similar gun on the original Nemesis, I mean there's no comparison, the original is much cooler. While we were at the park, there was also lots of live actors wandering around the park giving a more authentic feel to the Nemesis Reborn roller coaster. There were Phalanx members who were looking very sinister, wandering around and also being interviewed by a television crew, and there were also some protesters there who held up signs saying that Nemesis has feelings too. Both sides of this were obviously cartoonishly stereotypes, but they kind of fit the over-the-top theming of the ride, and I really enjoyed them. So a cool thing about the Nemesis Reborn roller coaster is the redesign of the Nemesis creature itself. The original Nemesis creature was shown as a kind of spider-like creature, except that it had pincer-like hands and angry orange eyes. With the Nemesis Reborn roller coaster, they've changed the Nemesis creature as well quite a lot, and they've made it seem a lot scarier. A lot of the marketing around Nemesis Reborn was of the giant red and orange eye that showed that Nemesis was awake and angry. But the final design of the new Nemesis creature is stunning. It's Cronenberg levels of body horror. The Nemesis Reborn creature still has tentacles, but now it has spikes along them like rose thorns. And the face of the creature, for want of a better name, is the giant orange and red angry eye surrounded by even more spikes and more tentacles. So the Nemesis creature is back with a vengeance. I really like the new redesign of the creature. I love the theming around it. I love where the story is going. And I'm just excited to see what they do in the future. Right, talked about it enough. Now I'm going to go ride Nemesis Reborn.